Joining us right now, winning head coach DeMeco Ryans. Coach, congratulations on the latest victory.
Thank you. Exciting one for us, so we're fired up about it.
Yeah, they're getting a little too exciting, but it's a great thing. Coach, what does it say about your team? All the poise you have down the stretch there, not letting things unravel when some mistakes were made, but you pulled it together, made big plays to pull out the win.
Yeah, really proud of our team for taking that step in the growth field right there. I mean, we stood up. Guys were calm, even though that was a hectic situation, right? A lot of things had to go right for us. Nobody panicked. Like, we needed to get stops there defensively. Guys were exactly where they were supposed to be. We got the stops. Offense, we're able to execute, and special teams. I mean, when we needed it most, all right, for Tommy punting the ball, getting us in a backed up op, and then on the flip side for the defense to hold them and for Rob to get the return and get us across midfield.
Yep.
It's just excellent execution. And, of course, for Ka'imi to go ahead and kick the game winners, big-time plays.
Coach, defensively, Josh goes 9 of 30. And we talked about this a little bit after the game when I'll go into it a little bit more. Your defense just seemingly all day didn't make things comfortable for him. You know, you got a couple of scrambles. He's going to do that. But it just felt like you guys made it very uncomfortable for him, whether it was just guys at his feet, making him move. When he moved, there were guys still there. There was one time he rolled right, and Aziz ran him down and forced him to throw it away. What was kind of key in getting Josh kind of off really his rhythm all day?
The key is started with the coverage this time. A lot of time I talk rush and coverage. It started with the coverage and the way our guys played on the back end, like Stingley, Kamari, E. Murray, Petrie. All the guys were sticky in coverage. So as I played a little bit more man coverage, the guys were sticky, and then D-line and linebackers, we knew we weren't going to get a lot of sacks versus them. So it was just going to be about just applying constant pressure, heat, chase him out of the pocket. We knew he always loved to escape to our defensive left, so we knew he would escape that way. And Aziz had a couple of really nice effort plays of chasing him down. Mario Edwards, he had 2 great effort plays chasing him down. Like, our guys needed to run. Our guys needed to swarm all day and not let up and be relentless, and that's what caused the disruption to Josh. It was just the D-line continuing to work and press and not get – sometimes D-line gets frustrated, right, when you're not getting sacks. It's like, oh, man, I was close. So, but going in, if you already know that's not going to happen and you just keep going, no matter what, keep going. I thought really they don't get highlighted for this, but – Will and Daniil on the edges, like, this is one of their best games of the year. The way they attacked, the way they won around the edge, and we had really good pocket push from our interior guys. That was an improvement that we were seeking, and we got it this game. And it was really, we had a lot of great pictures of the pocket just collapsing on Josh. And when he tried to throw the ball in the pocket, we were attacking his throwing arm. So those guys had a ton of pressures. I think it was like 16, 18 pressures on the quarterback. It was just a really great effort.
Johnny talked about Will and Daniil, so you got some credit over here, Coach.
I got their back.
Yeah, and they didn't move the ball an inch after the second turnover because they were at the 15, forced the field goal try at the 3. They don't get anything. And that was big because it felt like there was no margin for error anymore, right? You had the intentional grounding, okay, whatever happened there, but you got it down to the 3, no margin for error. And CJ's little pass to Dare as well, just to get it to 59 yards as opposed to whatever.
Right, that was it was zero margin for error. And when it's in that moment, sometimes you kind of tense up a little bit, but I didn't feel that from anybody defensively. Like, guys, I mean, we had our last 8 plays on defense. There were 0-yard gains for them. Everybody just did their job, was where they were supposed to be. And then, like, the margin for error was very slim. And then no play is bigger than, like, Rob's getting 13 yards on the punt return at the right amount of time to give us 7 seconds. We got the timeout. CJ, we're trying to throw there a quick pass, a quick slant to Diggs. Their defense did a great job of taking that away, kind of knowing what was coming. But for CJ to have the mindset and wherewithal to find Dare and Dare just get a couple more yards, it was very excellently played by everybody, and we got it. The time that we needed, the time was just right. It was everything went really, really well for us from when they punted the ball to when Rob received it.
Coach, I remember the first time you used the word swarm. And immediately when you use the word swarm, we've talked about this a little bit, that you think about on the field, guys attacking the football, always around. You think about it as kind of a defensive mentality, and obviously you play defense, so you would think it kind of comes from there. But I'm starting to think that Swarm is more a mentality on and off the field. And when I think of that, I think of Aziz yesterday. I think Aziz personifies that because I'm not totally sure that he was 1,000%. I don't even know if he's 75%. But when you watch the film back, I don't know if you saw it in real time, and maybe, obviously you did, but when you look back on film, like, holy cow, look at the plays he's making. And I think about being sick and running after Josh Allen and making the plays that he was able to make running after Josh Allen, to me, kind of speaks to that Swarm mentality of, you're not keeping me off the field. What do we have to do to win this game? I'm sick. I've got to take IVs or whatever it is, but I'm going to go out there and play for my brothers. Is that kind of the way you looked at Aziz, and how much does his performance mean to that defense and to you?
Yeah, Swarm is definitely, it's a mentality, right? It's not on the field, but it's off the field too. It's how tell guys, it's about how you're attacking the recovery phase of the week. How are you attacking your nutrition? How are you attacking your rehab? Everything. Like, are you just relentless? Like, is your work ethic just second to none in everything that you do? And that's what it takes to be a real pro. A true pro has to swarm the things that are off the field, right, to give you the best chance to be your best on the field. And so Aziz, he definitely represents that, epitomizes that Swarm mentality about what he was able to do in the game on yesterday. And I think I gave him a little bit even more firepower because in that first drive, it wasn't all clean.
Right.
And I said, hey, man, I'm taking you out of this game. Like, you're going to sit down if we can't get it cleaned up.
Really?
And, we had some words there on the side, and he got it cleaned up, and he started chasing Josh a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Coach, have you ever played while sick? And what is that like? I imagine it had to happen to you at some point.
I can't remember. Not like Aziz was.
Okay,
not nothing to the degree where I had to get IVs pumped in, and nothing to that degree. So I don't know what it's like to be in that position, but I know it's gutsy to just be. Most guys would tap out, right in that spot. It's like, man, I was in the emergency room, or most guys are saying, no, he's out for the game. But when I text Aziz, when he's like, oh, don't worry, coach, I'm playing.
Man, just has that mentality. I wanted to ask you about this positive attitude, and you were just saying something about, hey, guys get frustrated when they don't get to the quarterback, but just know that it's a contribution, and looking for those silver linings, those positive things in all situations. But it feels like the guys are feeding off of that. How do you instill that or get that across to them? What is the key as you're coaching them?
Yeah, the key, it's always, you go back and watch the film, and you have to show guys as well, like even though you're not making that play, watch how it allowed your teammate to make a play. Watch how it affected the entire defense or the entire offense. Sometimes you have to teach guys that it's not always about you and your production and your interceptions or your people. It's about the team collectively, like, suffocating an opponent. And that's what it looks like when everybody is playing together, doing their job and executing like that. And that's what the D-line had to understand. And I think when they understood that, they had more freedom.
Yeah.
Right? And it felt like I got a breath of fresh air. I can just go. Nobody's criticizing me on getting the quarterback down.
But one more thing on that. Do you think they expect to win? They have that expectation? Because we've seen teams that have things happen and, oh my gosh, and here it is. And look, it's not like you're going to go 17-0, but is there an expectation that's sort of a result of that positive thinking for the squad? It
definitely is. I think every time you line up for our guys as we go throughout the week, that week of practice and everything is about gaining confidence. Mm-hmm. You don't just show up with that confidence on Sunday, but it's how was your preparation? If you prepare the right way, you study the right way. Like, I know for me as a coach, my confidence it continues to build as the week goes on.
Okay.
Right? And it builds to, I know when I go out and see our guys warm up on Sunday and I can see how they're bouncing around, got a really good feel, good energy about them, like, then you have that kind of sense of that quiet confidence. But they prepare well all week. They're locked in on game day, and they expect to win. And that's what it should be. Every single game that we're in, we should expect to win because we put the work in, not just because of what we did in the past, but it's because of how you work each week.
So you mentioned you didn't have a lot of sacks. Do you remember the sack that you got defensively? Do you remember that one?
I do.
Okay. Do you remember how you got it? It was Khalil Davis.
Yeah. Yes.
I looked over, and I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit maybe, but I could see you out of my peripheral vision, and I saw you doing something in front of your face like this, and I was like, oh, he knows what's coming. But you stopped, and I don't know if you got some signal from the guys like, hey, we know. But they were about to run a screen, and you had it picked out. What was it about that particular play? Was it some formation? Was it something that you saw? You've told us often that you watch film up until you walk down to go out to the field.
Right.
When did you kind of have a feeling, okay, I knew what's coming with that play?
Yeah, I knew what was coming with that play. Being in that particular field zone in the red zone area, they aligned in empty formation. When they aligned it empty, and we had kind of a look on where we checked to this empty formation, and I seen Josh make a check, and then I knew, okay, this is their screenplay.
Right.
And I was trying to tell them they're not listening to me, so I stopped yelling so I could save my voice. So hopefully they could see me. I was trying to alert them that they were running screen. So Petrie did a really nice job of really firing to set the edge, and I think that froze Josh because he wanted to throw it. That froze him when Petrie triggered, and then Khalil, he just kept working. It wasn't pretty. He just kept working, and then we ended up with a really nice picture there of all 4 D linemen were actually in on the quarterback.
Yeah.
So Nico goes out after that 67-yard touchdown reception. How hard is it to adjust the game plan within the course of an afternoon? There you are, the first half. And I would imagine, Coach, he figured prominently in the rest of the game plan throughout the day. So now all of a sudden you don't have him. How do you go about dealing with that, you and Bobby, as far as game planning without Nico?
Yeah, it's so tough, man, because you have so many play designs that are specifically for Nico. Especially, we love getting Nico the ball on the perimeter with the screens, and then he can also, of course, take the top off the defense as well. So, Bobby did a great job of adjusting. Like, we also have this guy, Stephon Diggs, who can make a few plays, and I think he stepped up big time for us, especially on third down. Like, he had so many. I think 5 or 6 of his catches went for first downs, and a few of those were on third down. So just having other playmakers like Steph, like Tank, Dalton, Dara, it was just the ball just was able to be spread around even more so without having Nico and the guys on those opportunities when they had their number call.
Coach, I'm convinced there are 2 situations that happen in a game that can fire a team up, and one of them is a big hit. Somebody comes up, whether it's a big block or it's a big tackle, whatever it is, it's a big hit, and also a bomb. I feel like those 2, because it's an explosive situation one way, it's an explosive situation the other. Right. I looked at the 3 drives after Nico's touchdown. 5 plays, 13 yards, 9 plays, 35, 3 for nothing. It was punt, punt, punt the rest of the second quarter. After Nico did that you guys did that to the Bills defense. Right. How much did that kind of charge you guys on defense? Like how much you get a charge out of that defensively when a big play like that happens?
Oh, our guys were they were fired up. Yeah. I mean, that energy, everybody feels it. It's not just off, it's our entire team, and everybody knows the playmaker that Nico is. So it encouraged everybody. I talked about our team. We need to have some enthusiasm, right? And that created the enthusiasm from us executing that explosive play, even more so because we talked about this Bills defense where they don't give up explosive plays, and it's going to be really difficult for us to make explosive plays. And then Nico just comes out of nowhere, and CJ threw such a beautiful pass, for CJ to drop it off to Nico there. And the defense feels that. They're more excited than the offense. Right. They're going crazy, and they go out, and they are still – they're thriving off of that energy that Nico fueled them with. So it's a team effort. And whenever you make big plays, whether it's, Rob's return, I think that's another one, just all these energy-giving plays that show up to spark our entire team.
So CJ had another good game, had the turnovers, though, but you mentioned how calm he is. He shakes that off rather easily. You probably don't even have to tell him anything. How do you go about that?
It's easy working with him because he knows instantly. He knows the mistake that he made. He knows what should have happened, right? And even on the one play with the fumble there, it's not just one person, right? When the turnover happens, so the one that he fumbled there, we don't run the right route, and so he's looking to throw a quick game, and we're not on the route, so he has to pull the ball down unexpectedly, and then he fumbles the ball. So that one's not on him. And the other turnover there, that defender made a great play. He was on Dalton, kind of fell off on Dalton, got into the second window. Really nice play by the defender there. Don't want to, throw that ball to the other team.
yeah.
You want to take it down. At that point, you just take a sack or try to run with it. But the way he bounced back, like I think that's what makes a great player. After mistakes have happened, like what's your resolve? Like how do you respond? And CJ is cool as the other side of the pillow. He's just, man, he's so calm. And you sometimes lose sight of how young of a player that CJ is, but man, he's like a veteran. It's like, I've been here before. I've done it. That's not going to affect me moving forward. And he shows that time and time again, every game.
Coach, I'm asking you a question. Well, first part is a question I asked ND this morning as well. And I'll ask a second part that's built off of that. What was it like for you as a player when you played your former team? And the second part of that, we sort of downplayed all week. You know, look, it's Bills Texans. It's not Steph against his former team, all of that. But it was pretty clear in the locker room afterwards, Steph, there was emotion in that game for him. So the second part is, how'd you kind of downplay or get him to kind of like, and Tim too, playing the Bills as well, Tim Settle, how'd you kind of get them to like, hey, just focus in on the game, don't worry about all the other stuff. How'd you kind of get them focused playing against their former team?
Yeah, it's always a big deal when you play your former team because – you know, however you parted ways, there is some resentment there. You know, some guy you feel like, oh, I should be with that team forever. It doesn't happen now as it did in the past. But there's always some tension there, right? And you want to just show your team like, hey, you shouldn't have let me go, or this is the reason why. And you want to have a big game versus your team. So knowing that for Steph, and I know all the noise that came in from the Bills and Steph and that breakup there. And I knew all that was going on, but I didn't want to tell the team about that or make it a bigger deal than I needed to. I think our guys knew that. Everybody knew it, but I just didn't want to make it a big deal in front of the team. But, you know, I think Nico said it, some other guys said, like, we wanted to get that win for Steph, and we know how much it meant to him. And so I'm so excited or happy for him to have a really good game versus his old team, and for us to get the win. You know, it meant a lot to him, and I know he'll always remember this one. So.
Coach, New England is a weird road trip because you can't get there from here, right? It's south of Boston. You can't stay near the stadium. You have to bus in from somewhere else, wherever it is, and it's a kind of long bus ride for a game day situation. How do you see – is that a factor when you're playing a team like this? I know for years they had number 12, but any road trip in the NFL is tough.
It is tough, and you hit it on the head, Mark. I actually, because I know that's coming, I mentioned that to our guys today in our team meeting. Like, hey, we're gonna have a long trip, so I want you guys to have your minds right now. Like, it's gonna be a long trip. You guys got to be locked in. You got to bring some energy. You have to be ready to go. Long bus ride. Like, don't let it surprise you on Saturday that we're traveling for a long time. And I want guys to be aware of that. Make sure we're getting the proper rest all throughout the week. Do whatever we got to do to recover, be ready to go once we hit New England, because it is a weird road trip. One of our longest travel days, of the year. So we can't let that affect us. And that's my biggest thing is you attack it from the onset so it doesn't affect us later in the week.
I like your word noise. That's a good word. So I'm going to throw it in here. There's noise about potentially New England playing Drake May instead of Jacoby Brissett. How does that change the preparation, if at all? Would you be going into a game, whether it's Jacoby or Drake, knowing as much about those two as possible? Because you never know what could happen. And we don't know whether Drake's going to start. I would imagine they're not going to sit there and say, hey, Texans, Drake's starting this week, but being prepared for it if he does start.
Yeah, knowing Mayo, if he's anything like me, he's not going to show his hand until late in the week. So knowing that noise, that you just gave me a great tip. So I'll make sure we prepare for both before we get started. Prepare for both quarterbacks, and we'll see what Drake has done well in the preseason and all of his film so far in the NFL. Probably go back and rely on our scouts again for how was he in college and the things that he did well, things that affected him, rely on the scouts for that. But then we'll just make sure we're prepared for both in that regard.
And running game, right? They like to run the football, so you got to buckle up for that.
Yes, they do. That's going to be that's the biggest thing for this week is whoever's at quarterback doesn't matter. Like, they want to run the ball. They're really good at creating explosives in the run game. So, and they play really good run defense. So we have our hands full when it comes to that. We didn't play the run well the past 2 weeks. So defensively, it's a big challenge for us. Like, we got to step up. We got to stop the run offensively, see can we get it going.
Coach, I know you got the win, and I know you're obviously happy about that, but is it frustrating not getting any takeaways? I know Aziz had a couple that were in his hands. I get that. But is it frustrating when you don't get the takeaways?
Yeah, it is frustrating. We knew it's funny that, like, playing Josh, we talked about getting turnovers, and he's going to throw you some. Just catch the ones he throws to you. And for it to happen that way, and it's funny because seeing it on film earlier in the year, the same thing happened to all the other teams that they played. Like, he threw it right to guys, and they just did not catch it. So it's frustrating. But I'll take the win every time.
Absolutely. Of course. Amagi Bank Ask Coach question of the week. This isn't it. Did you hear Clay Martin say basketball instead of football?
I did.
I missed it. You guys were talking about basketball. I'm like, I don't know what he said.
I like basketball, but we are here. But interactions with officials, what was your relationship like with officials as a player, and how is it now? Because you do have conversations. It's just part of the working environment. Right. And as a player, it's got to be different than as a coach. But you do have to sort of get along in the environment of professional football.
Yeah, as a player, it was definitely more friendly, like fun, like, hey, what's going on? Like, it was more friendly. And now as a coach, it's like, man, I'm trying to work and have a good relationship with you guys if you guys make the right calls. Right. So it's different. Different crews are different, and it's all just working with people. It's people, different personalities. Some guys are more friendly than others. It's just about, for me, just kind of establishing a rapport with the guys early in the game. And some crews you've worked with in the past, we have some crews out at our practices in the training camp that we have, better relationships with. But all in all, it's about just getting the information and communicating, right? That's the biggest thing, is having great communication with the officials when something does happen. Like, just want to make sure, you kind of calling it both ways. I don't like getting into games when it's just kind of lopsided. But for the most part, we've had, pretty good officials, and I try to not yell at them too much. That's the one thing. I see some guys, they kind of go off on the officials all the time. But it's also, like I said, it's people. So it's like, how do you want someone to treat you? Like, it's just treat people how you want to be treated. So I try not to just lose my mind on the officials. Try to always be respectful.
Ooh, one more uniform review. What'd you think?
Oh man, hey, H-Town Blue. Those are nice. We need to make that our primary uniform for our home games. Those are really nice, man. They look really good in them, and those are sweet.
Yep.
And Fairbairn made the kick from the H.
Made the kick from the H.
Yeah.
Hey, put a staple on. Let's go. H-Town Blue for our primaries.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you, guys.